Forever. All right, so Weinglo Family International have decided we to educate and actually talk about how to deal with stresses of life. And the stresses of life have its different way and all that. But today we are going to be talking about how to manage stress from day one when our parents or our mothers conceived us. It's been a battle. It's stressful for even a sperm to survive. It's stressful. And then growing up as a child and all that is not easy. And then when you grow up, you get to the working environment, you get to do business, you get to move up and down to education. A lot. It's managing your education, managing work, managing children, managing home, trust me. It is a lot of work. But hey, we are still surviving. So today we want to talk about how to manage stress. I believe that each and everybody has one way or the other gone through stress. Gone through, even if you are not going through now, you've actually gone through stress before. And then we want to talk about it. Our guest today is Dr. Isaac Newman, author. He's a medical practitioner and a clinical psychologist. So we are adding him shortly and then we'll start talking. Please share the page to all those who are not online. Yes. Hello. Today I'm in the dark. Good evening.
Good evening.
The light off is real. But whether
My,
light or no light, the most important is guest. We can see our guest.
mine is not real.
Oh, yes, it's
enjoy,
not real at all.
enjoy darkness. I'm enjoying my light.
All right. Good evening, dog. How are you?
Grace, it's been a
Wow.
stressful day,
Yes.
but uh,
It looks like the
it's been,
stress is everywhere.
and I'm coming to talk about stress, right?
Yeah. So I'm sure you have more apple. All right.
Uh,
So you are welcome to live chats to Dingo Family International. Like as I was saying, from day one, for a sperm to even survive in a mother's womb or in the mother's tummy, it's stress. It's a
yeah,
thousand of, but when it gets in there, they all battle to survive. And
yeah,
then how to come out is another wahala.
yeah,
Growing up, working, schooling, I mean, at job, family, business, everything. It's all about stress. So we realize that it looks like the stress we can't do away with it. So we want to actually talk about it today and find a way that how best stress can be managed. So today we want to know what stress is. Stress management is all about.
that's fine. So I can start right.
Yes, yes, please, yes, please.
Okay, so, the this what we're talking about is part of mental health, and I always want to draw the minds of people that the human body and the human experience goes beyond physical well-being, where you have a headache, you are vomiting, you are running, you are bleeding. Usually when someone says I'm unwell, that is what they are talking about, right?
Yeah,
They are talking for something that is tangible, right? So anything that is intangible, they don't see it as health. But health is four-dimensional, like I said the other time: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. So everything
yeah.
I'm going to do it on these levels, because
Okay.
until you understand, right, you will not see whatever you are going through as a health issue. You may see
Yeah.
it as your personal problem or part of your personal struggles. So there are a lot of people who are struggling unnecessarily. If they had sought help, things will be better with them, right? So that is why I always work it through and make it as simple and as basic as possible. So when we
Yeah.
say stress and stress management, we are saying that there is a way to cope with stress, right? And there are certain things you can do to cope with stress. So when we take you through that and you are able to apply it, we say you are managing your stress. It's as
Okay.
simple as that, right? But
Okay.
what is stress anyway? What is stress anyway? Right? You know, stress is, I like the some definition of stress that makes us know stress can be overcome. It's possible to overcome stress, right? So
Okay.
stress is basically your response, the body's response to
Mm-hmm.
external challenges or demands. Simple.
Okay.
So there are certain challenges. It can even be internal or external challenges that the body responds to, right? Those demands, right? And so
Okay.
this definition tells us that stress is only a response.
Mm-hmm.
If it is a response, it means it can be controlled.
Okay.
You see, so stress is not something which cannot be controlled. It's a response to a certain demand on the body. But
Okay.
depending on the response, the impact is going to be different. So if you have a good response, then the impact of the stress on you will be minimal. If you have a
Okay.
bad response, then the impact on you is going to be greater, right? So stress is basically a response to external demands or external, challenges, right? So
Yeah.
when you are able to manage or cope with those stresses better, then we say that you're going through some stress management. But like I said
Yeah.
the other time, that a mentally healthy person, there are 6 things, right, that that determines whether someone is mentally healthy or not. We talked about the fact that the first one, the person should be able to cope and adjust to
Yeah.
situations. Coping and adjusting to situations is part of mental well-being. So anybody who is struggling to cope and adjust to any stressful event, it means the person is mentally unwell. The person may not have a mental illness or disease, but the person may be mentally unwell, because a mentally well person is able to cope and adjust to situations, right? And
Okay.
when you say mental, what do you mean? I think last time I said your thinking, your feelings, and your behavior. Thinking, feeling, behavior. Any thinking
Behave.
at all, any feelings at all, any behavior at all that is
Okay.
affecting you positively, we say you are mentally unwell. And so that is the basic definition and
Okay.
explanation.
Okay. So then I come to the point where I ask, what are some of the causes of stress? What can cause someone to stress out?
Okay,
So
so
those are what we share the page
from
so that it will be others too. So let's share the page and then people get to also listen. It is the main reason why we are here. Don't listen to it all by yourself. Share. Doc,
okay, so
go on.
we have, all of us go through normal stresses every time, right? Because
Yeah.
there's always activities around us. So there's something we call normal stress, right? Stress, normal stress, right? The day-to-day things you go about, our normal duties can be quite stressful. Or maybe when you are preparing for exams and you have to, step up a bit, right? Then we have acute stress and we have chronic stress, right? Acute stress has
Yeah.
to do with effects of time, right? It happens and it's for a short time. So, for example, you have a major event, so you are doing everything possible to make the event happen, right? And right after the event, it goes down because the stressor is gone, right? Then we have the recurrent stress, the one that comes and goes, comes and goes. So issues come and go, come and go, come and go like that. But you have a period of break where you don't really have any kind of issues around, and so your stresses are relieved in between those seasons. Then we have the chronic stress, which is stress that is maintained consistently over a time. And it's the chronic stress that really has a certain kind of impact even on the body, negative impact on the body, right? So with this
Yeah.
background, there are different things that causes stress for people, right? It can be physical, mental, social, and spiritual factors. Physical, mental, social, and spiritual factors, right? Physical factors
Okay.
include anybody who has any chronic illness. The management of that illness is stressful. So, for example, someone has diabetes, has to be going for reviews, has to be taking drugs every day, has to be injecting themselves with insulin every day, reviews here and there, hypertension, HIV, stroke, any asthma, sickle cell. Oh, COVID now is COVID, right? So any physical health condition puts undue stress on the body, right? And depending on the type of illness and the management of the illness, it can be stressful. Anybody who has any physical deformity, right, or any physical state that impairs their movement, right, day-to-day movement, going around their general activities, that can create stress. The next is anybody who has any physical pain, right? You have to deal with some pain. It can be a back pain, abdominal pain, throughout. It can even be your menses, menstrual pain, all kinds of pain relating to some form of, illness or of a sort. It can create some form of stress, right? Then also physical activity in terms of commuting from one point to the other, right? Staying in traffic for a long time, even the things that you have to do around on a daily basis. All those things can be physical sources of stress, right? You go to work, you are teaching, you are doing that and that. The activities that you get involved in on a daily basis can create some form of stress, right? Yes. Then also, for example, you have some underlying mental health condition like depression, anxiety, and all that. Then genetic issues to become important. So that is the first. That is the physical risk factors, right, of stress. The next one is the mental factors, right? That has to do with a person's thinking and appreciation of events. So if you're thinking about events is always negative, you would always be under stress. For example, I must get this job, otherwise I will die. It is not true. That kind of irrational, illogical, counterproductive, negative way of evaluating events put undue stress on people. For example, in this season, right, COVID-19 is dangerous. I will die if I step out. Or this will happen to me, that will happen to me. That way of thinking puts undue stress on people, right? Even in terms of your relationship. For example, your husband has delayed, right? And at 11 o'clock, he's still not back from work. You call him, his phone is switched. Then you are thinking, he is with another woman. Hey, what is happening to me? He's not with another woman. He's stuck in traffic and it's low battery, so the phone is off. That kind of negative way of thinking puts undue stress on people. Another thing to have to do with the fact that people's upbringing, their psychological growth and nurturing, right? How they grow up, the things that they go through, it influences how they perceive and handle challenges, in future. So if someone has a bad way of coping based on this or her upbringing, it can affect them. Then also a person's self-image about themselves. Anybody who has a negative self-image about themselves, lower self-identity and esteem, it puts a certain undue stress on them to be able to belong, to be able to do things this way and that way. Otherwise, they will not be accepted. Otherwise, they cannot do what they are supposed to do. That puts undue stress on them. Then anybody who is going through any loss, right? Anybody who is going through any loss, like loss of a relative, loss of a relationship, loss of a job, the failure of a job, and all the things around losing things, it can really put undue stress on people. Then the next, mental health issue with anybody who is going through any abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, verbal abuse, economic, financial abuse, any kind of abuse at all puts undue stress on people, right? Then we go on to the handling of someone, right? Anybody who is depressed, anxious, anybody who has a illness, problem, like anybody who has bipolar disorder. Okay, so anybody who has any other form of
Sorry, we are adding our guests shortly. The network was not so good. Yeah. All right, Doc. Sorry, we weren't hearing you.
Oh, that's fine.
All right.
I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, please.
Okay, so anything at all in the management of chronic illnesses, especially mental health issues, like I mentioned, right? Even with addictions to pornography, masturbation, drug-related addiction, alcohol, cocaine, heroin, marijuana, all kinds of addictions, the management of it and the impact of that addictive behavior on the person can be very, very stressful for the person. So we finish with the mental health group, right? Then we
Yeah.
go to the social risk factors. Has to do with people's relationships, stresses in marriage and relationships, right? All the conflicts and the abuse and whatever it is, even with relationships, the care of children, care of a spouse, especially if the spouse has some kind of some kind of illness that you have to manage, preparing food, all the responsibilities at home, it becomes very difficult. Pregnancy related problems. Pregnancy in itself, the hormonal changes in pregnancy puts undue stress on the mother, because stress in pregnancy is higher even with pregnant women, even than the normal population. Then we go to social issues like work related issues, right? Work related issues, working every day of the week, from 8 to 4, coming back home, and all the responsibilities with work can put undue stress on people. Then we go on to financial issues. Finances become important when it comes to stress, especially when getting money is very, very difficult. And at this point, trying to even sustain your business during a certain crisis like this pandemic, right? It becomes very, very stressful. Then culture and traditional issues, right? Your society, the culture of the society, how do they make things easy for people, and how do they even make a certain progress, right? Even the treatment and maltreatment of a certain group, right? For example, if you are in a certain group and you are stigmatized and ostracized in a certain kind of environment, it affects, and promotes stress among that group, right? And even against women, all kinds of, societal problems against women. Even this today is menstrual hygiene day, right?
Yeah.
Even the support, of girls around this time, with their schooling and all that, school-related stresses, going to school all the time, learning and focusing on education and all that becomes very, very stressful, even for people. Then we go to spirit, right? Spirituality, I told you, goes beyond demon and demon possession, right? And it also has to do with your belief systems, your world views. There are certain world views that makes life stressful. I must have this. It must be this way. Otherwise, it cannot be. That kind of worldview, it puts undue stress on you all the time. Then we talk about your pursuit of goals and aspirations, right? Trying to achieve things with your life. Quest for self-actualization, right? Trying to do something with your life. Figuring out how life works. Writing down all your plans. Executing your plans and goals. It can be very, very stressful. Then some form of religious activity and problems, right? Religion has become an important stressor, for a lot of people. Some demands are unnecessary, some demands are unrealistic, some demands even God does not even understand, because he didn't even institute it, right? And so religious leaders are putting all kinds of burdens on people in order to contain them and manipulate them. It is stressful on all levels. So stress is not
So stress in the
all
physical,
levels.
emotional, and spiritual, in
Yes,
all the. Okay. So now with all these that you've said, it looks like it runs through every aspect of our lives. How do we
yes.
manage? How do we manage stress?
There are several ways: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. Several ways: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. So
Four
when you
solid,
combine, is that what
four solid
the form?
ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you combine all of them, we call holistic care. So to manage your stress, I gave you risk factors on all the 4 levels.
Yeah.
So you can't also manage it on one level. You need all 4 levels to manage it, because human beings are very complex, right? So you can't manage things one way. You need a combination of things: physical measures, social measures, mental health measures, and spiritual measures, right? These 4 levels. So let me quickly say that stress is a health issue, right? And it leads to other complications like chronic illnesses, hypertension, diabetes, stroke, right? And all those related issues. Stress is part of it, right? So stress has major implications on our health. So when you are managing stress, you would have to know that it is a health issue. There are things that you yourself has to do, right? We call self-help measures that you have to do to be able to manage your stresses, right? But in addition to that, there are other professional services that would help you manage your stress. I'm going to walk you through that, basically,
Okay.
right?
All right.
If somebody goes into a certain stressful situation, right, it is not the event that is responsible for the stress, but it is the person's response to the event. That is what determines the impact of the stressor, right? So the impact of the stressor on the person is dependent on the person's response and not the stressor. So for example, 2 people may be writing an exam. One person may be stressed, the other may not, depending on how they are coping with that stressor, which is the exams, right? So you have to know that the coping strategy of people makes a lot of difference in their handling of their various stresses, right? So when people go into stresses, there are 2 responses. The first response, the primary response, is that they evaluate the stressor, right? If their evaluation of the stressor is negative, their response is going to be unhealthy. So for example, if something happens to you and your response is negative, your response to the stressor is negative, it means that the impact is going to be greater. If your response is positive and effective, the impact on you is going to be less, right? So first of all, people evaluate the situation to find out, is it dangerous? Is it this or that? If that evaluation is negative, then it will create problems. The next evaluation they go through is what we call the secondary evaluation, secondary response, where now they evaluate themselves. First of all, they evaluate the situation, first response. Now the second response is that they evaluate themselves to find out whether they can handle the stress. So for example, hey, this exam is dangerous, it's difficult, I am going to fail. That is the first response, which is negative. So the stress, the impact of the stress goes up. The next thing they will do is that this exam is difficult. Can I do it? Do I have what it takes to do it? So now they evaluate their own strengths and resources to find out whether it is enough to cope with the stresses. If evaluation on these 2 levels is negative, right, then the problems begin. So let me give you an example. An exam. One person A will say that this exam is difficult. I will fail. I don't think I can pass this exam. What do I have? I can't even remember. Hey, can I even do this? I don't have this and that to pass. This person's response is negative and it's going to affect that person. Another person will say that this exam is difficult, but it is doable. I have what it takes to pass. I'm going to pass. The second person's evaluation is positive. So the impact of that stressor, which is exam, on that person is going to be what? Less. Right? For example, this guy walked away from my life. Hey, I will not marry again. All men are the same. Marriage is difficult. That kind of thinking would affect you, negatively. Another person will say that, oh, this guy walked away, no problem. I'll move on. Another person will come. He should go away with his big head. That kind of response will make you feel better and you are able to do better. Right? So the response is important. So if someone is stressed, I told you 2 things, right? we help them, develop certain strategies that can help them, right? Then secondly, there are some professional things that we can do to help them. So the first is what they themselves have to do to help themselves, right? Then the second is what the professional has to do to help them, right? So what we do is that we assess them. There is a certain assessment we do, subjective and objective assessment. When they come, we have a certain interaction with them to listen to them and find out their story. Then after listening to them, which is the subjective assessment, we even run some tests, psychological tests, to find out whether the stress is mild, moderate, or severe, or extremely severe. So depending on the what do you call it, the magnitude of the stress, then we suggest what they can do to help, right? If anybody is stressed, right, there are self-help things we teach. We call them self-help, right? Things we teach them to help them reduce their stresses. And I'm going to share in a minute. One, people should have a positive and perception about everything that happens to them, right? Because when you are positive about it, stresses go down. Anytime you are stressed, right, your response is negative. Your body releases certain hormones in your body we call stress hormones, right? Those stress hormones will increase your blood pressure, will affect your respiration, your pulse will go up, you have headaches, you may be confused because the body is releasing certain chemicals. But the moment you are positive about it, the body also releases certain chemicals that makes you very, very relaxed, right? Okay. So people should be positive about everything that happens to them. For example, coronavirus has come. What can you do with it? You can't do anything about it. But you should be able to say that, oh, it will pass. Whatever happens, this season too shall pass. That kind of helps you deal with your stresses better. The second thing we will tell them is surround yourself with positive people, right? People who can inspire, encourage, and help you, right? The more you surround yourself with people like that, the more they're able to help you deal with your stresses better. The third thing is that people should rest, right? Make time to rest, right? Sleep and engage in restful activities. Everybody, by now knows what they can do to de-stress, right? So you need to be able to get involved in some activities, that restful activities that helps you rest. The next is that people should engage in family time, right? Because the more you spend time with the people who matter to you, the more you are able to deal with your stresses. The next is that people should exercise. Exercises help deal with stresses better. When you exercise, the body is put on a certain, pleasurable mood, right? That, helps the body, function appropriately. All your circulation and all that also becomes better. Brain activity and everything becomes better when you exercise. Good nutrition, especially fruits and veggies, right? When you eat well, balanced diet, right? It helps, improve on your brain function and helps with stress-related issues. The next thing we encourage people to do is also to pursue meaningful life goals and pursue things that make them happy and see the lighter side of life, right? For example, get involved in some hobbies. It helps you de-stress. Then also people should be thankful. The more thankful you are, the better you are able to deal with your stresses. The less likely that you are going to get involved in all kinds of things that would increase your stress. Another thing that helps with stress is forgiveness. When people learn to forgive themselves and others and are able to let go of their disappointments, right? They're able to let go of things that depresses, suppresses, and distresses them. They are able to move on. Because most of the time, there are a lot of situations you may not be able to change. But you letting it go, reduces, all the risk around you that is going to promote some stress, even for you. Then also we talk about sex, right? Sex releases stress and relieves stress, significantly, right? For example, it releases some kind of hormones, right? That helps deal with your stress. Dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins. All these ones have a way of influencing your stress. Obviously, if that sex is not legal, you are having more problems, right? Any illegal sex will create more problems, You know, so if you are sleeping with someone who is not your spouse, you are creating more problems for yourself, right? But generally, sex improves on what do you call it? On stresses. Then also, we talk about the fact that people should to talk about things instead of keep it in there, right? When the more people talk about things, the more they are able to. It's like bottled up emotions is just released, right? When people talk about things, they cry instead of keep it in there. You know, sometimes when people go through challenges, we say, "Oh, don't cry, don't cry." No, we have to allow them to cry because when they cry, it's a way the body uses to deflate all the negative emotions that is down there, right? So people should learn to also smile instead of frown. The more you smile and laugh like myself, the more the more you relieve your stress, right? Frowning increases your stress, right? So you need to smile more, you need to laugh more. It helps you, right? Then also, finally, drink lots of water because your brain needs a lot of water to be able to function well, right? Then the last one I will add that people can do to help relieve their stress is prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation has been shown, right, to relieve a lot of stress even for people. It gives you better perspective to life. It helps, release all kinds of chemicals in you, detox and all kinds of things. Prayer, meditation, and fasting even helps, help people relieve their stresses better. Then obviously, when you talk to God about issues, right, He has a way of lifting up the burden from your heart. He has a way of lifting up a certain kind of cloud of some kind of anxiety or some depression. God always has a way of helping you deal with that kind of problem that is becoming stressful. So these are some of the things that people can do to deal with their stresses. But as I said, stress is a health issue. And so in addition to all the self-help skills, you may need a professional to help you deal with the stress better. So that is when mental health professionals become important, right? Like psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health nurses, counselors, all these mental health professionals have been trained to help you handle those kind of stressful situations, right? So in a nutshell, some people, when they come, we maybe have to give them some medication, right? If they have aches and pain here and there, we have to prescribe some medication for them. And depending on their symptoms, we even prescribe some medications, right? And we also help them control their chronic illnesses. Because if you have hypertension and you add stress, BP control becomes very, very difficult. So you need some form of help in order to be able to deal with the stresses. And one therapy we do that helps with stress is what we call relaxation therapy. There is a therapy called relaxation therapy that helps people deal with that kind of stress. Because stress will affect your sleep, it would affect your feeding, aches and pain here and there, it would affect sugar control, it would affect blood pressure control, it affects every aspect of your life. Wound healing is poor. What do you call it? If you have cancer, it's going to be worse. It's going to worsen your physical state if you are stressed because the body cannot, handle stress for a long time. So in a nutshell, as simple as it is, this is what stress does.
Wow. So if you just joined in, we are talking about stress and we are talking about how to manage stress, the most important topic. And then Dog is saying that the person's response to the stress, the negative and the positive aspects, but advises that you should stay positive because if you are thinking about it in a negative way, you get more stress. But in a positive way, it is good to go. You need to be surround yourself with people with positive vibe, people who would encourage you, people who will say things that will not actually pull you back or worsen your case. You should have rest, you should have family time, you should exercise, eat a balanced diet, that's eating healthy, the fruits and the veggies, and also pursue things that makes you happy. The things that makes you happy, you should pursue it if you want to manage stress. And also be thankful, be grateful, and also self-fulfillment. And the very interesting part is the sex aspect. where he said that if you are having illegal sex, then you're adding more stress to your life. So you need to have the sex with your partner, legal sex. Okay. So we talked about how you should talk to someone, professionals, to actually put you on a therapy. That is what he said. And also to smile all the time. You need to smile instead of frown. I mean, it's also a stress reliever. So please, let's keep the smile broad. If it's going to help us release our stress, then I think we should even start laughing more. Like he also said that. And then we should drink a lot of water. We should drink a lot of water. It will really help us. We should pray and meditate and fast. Apparently, research has even proven that prayer and meditation is a very good way of releasing stress. So we should pray and meditate and fast. All right. So if you have questions to ask, please let's ask questions while Dog goes on. So, Dog, I want to ask: are you saying that sometimes if you have negative thoughts, it's not too good? Because there's a saying that "Odrin Papa, no Adrian Bone, Kaka." I mean, when you think about the negative, you think about the positive, you think about the negative small. I mean, like when you're analyzing it. So, are you saying that
Well,
with a negative thoughts, it's not good for a stress, like someone who is stressed?
looking at two sides of a situation doesn't mean being negative, right? You are considering both pros and cons, but it doesn't mean you are negative about it. So, for example, I'm starting a business, right? The business can make progress or fail. These are two things. So, once you are starting the business, you would have to think about both the success and the failure that is likely to happen. But in thinking about the failure, you are not thinking about the failure in a way that makes you, depressed or anxious or afraid or stressed. But you are thinking about the negative in order to put measures in place so that the negative doesn't happen. I hope you understand. So if
Yeah.
you don't think so. Considering the negative aspect of it doesn't mean you are being negative. You are only evaluating both ways in order to make an informed decision that will make you make progress. So you are thinking about the solution instead of the problem. Right? So it's okay to have that kind of balance, but the balance is not like you are being negative. Consider the negative aspect of it, but don't be negative.
Okay. So how do you prevent a situation from getting too stressed to manage? Somebody's
So know
asking.
your so, so know your triggers, right? All of us are
Okay.
triggered differently by different things. Identify your triggers and find a consistent way of coping with that trigger. So, for example, if you realize that someone screaming at you is your trigger for some stressful event, right? Make sure you find a way of dealing with, that kind of event consistently, so that it becomes part of you, right? Have a consistent way of dealing with your stresses, so that at every point in life, in time, you really don't have any stress that is too much. Develop a lifestyle, a distressing lifestyle, right? Develop a distressing lifestyle so that at every point in time, regardless of what happens to you, you able to go through without even thinking about it. For example, if you exercise daily as part of you, you are positive all the time, you smile all the time, right? You surround yourself with positive all the time. You realize there's no room for any major something to distress you. Even if major things come up, you are able to handle easily. Right? It doesn't become a problem again because you have a consistent way of coping with challenges, and that helps. So develop a distressing lifestyle, right? So that regardless of the stresses that come your way, you're able to overcome it without even thinking about it.
Okay. So another question. How do you ensure that stressful situation in your personal life don't affect your work performance?
Like it's the same response, right? The same response, a healthy coping lifestyle. And if you have any stressful event that is affecting your job, seek help. And usually when people see, for example, when they come and see you or see another side, like you're able to put everything in such a way that they are wondering, why didn't I know this? The reason why you didn't know is because you've not been trained to know it. We have been trained to figure it out. We
You're
have been
right.
trained to
Professional.
figure it out. So anybody who is struggling with any stressful event, they should just seek help, right? But if they apply all the things I've shared with you this evening, work situations, you'll be able to deal with stresses without it affecting your work. You're able to deal with it. But if you are struggling with it, seek help.
Wow. So well said. It looks like the questions have been exhausted. Please try and share the page. And I think Doug has dealt with the issue. I mean, the topic so well that everybody has taken his or her bits. I mean, you need to take all. The fact that you need to know your triggers, the fact that you need to know how to distress, the fact that you need to put up a smile all the time, laugh. I mean, exercise, eat balanced diet, have sex with a legal partner, and smile more, drink more water, pray and meditate and fast. It is also a good way of distressing. So, Doc, what are your last words?
Our life is simple. People should keep it very simple. When we have too high expectations of ourselves and others, it makes life more difficult. If we always want to get, and we're never satisfied with anybody, anything, and anybody, we put ourselves in unnecessary stress. So life is simple. People should keep it that way. We shouldn't complicate our own lives, right? Because we complicate things so much so that we can't even see the brighter side of life. So life is very simple. People should keep it that way. And I know that when they do that and they trust God, I think things should flow with no major problems coming up to destabilize their life. So keep life simple. I have a very, very simple way of living. You see, I folded my shirt, right?
Yeah.
It's a simple. Sometimes I come to consult you and I fold, right? The moment I fold, it deflates seriousness. I'm serious with my work, but when a patient comes and sees that, it's like they come and it's like, okay, let me relax. That kind of thing. Life is so simple. You don't need a car to be happy. You don't need a spouse to be happy. You don't need that masters to be happy. You don't need it. It's not a must. I must get it. I shall do this. That kind of way of living your life puts undue stress on you. So be very, very, very simple with life. A day at a time, one step at a time. Be very, moderate with your goals. Don't be too expectant of anybody or anything, because things change, people change, situations change, right? So be very, very simple with life. Take one step at a time. Don't complicate the things around you. Pay attention to every step you're taking, because life is very simple and God made it that way. If you look at the Bible, God created, everything else before he added man. He could have created man at the beginning, and man could have struggled throughout the rest of the creation. But he created all the food, all the animals, everything, and man was the last thing. Because God doesn't want us to stress our life. He doesn't want that. So anytime you're stressed, reevaluate your life and find out whether you are simplifying things or you are complicating things. Life is simple. Let's keep it that way.
All right, Doc. Before you go, please, somebody just asked the question. Do we have stress management resource at workplaces in Ghana? Are there legal requirements for such resources in the labor laws?
I think that in Ghana we have a long way to go when it comes to health and stress-related issues.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people don't really understand what I'm talking about, so they may not even care about it. So I'm not sure. But for most of the places I've gone to, right, to give health talks and all that, they don't have anything like that there. So it's just the mechanical way of doing things. You go to work, you come back home, and that's it. And every man they pay you something and go away. So some work places or companies would engage the service of a psychologist once a while to give a talk or something. but generally you may not find it anywhere.
Wow. Hmm. Anyway, Doc, it's been so insightful. Even though I had light off, you've been able to actually make it happen. Thank you so very much for coming online with us.
God bless.
Thank you so much. And please have a good evening.
Thank you.
All
Signing
right.
off.
All right. You can follow um our guest on Instagram, Isaac Newman Arthur. Yes, you can follow him on that. Hey, we've learned a lot today. I mean, those who were not able to make it to listen to us, I believe that's when you go on our YouTube channel, you can have it and then have to listen to it. But do not forget, life is simple. Just like the psychologist, the clinical psychologist just said, Isaac said, life is simple. Let's keep it simple and stop complicating things. I mean, to stress ourselves. The must have this must that. That is not what brings the happiness. The happiness is within you. It is you, the person. It's not what you achieve. You can achieve a lot of things and still not be happy. So, like he said, let's smile a lot, let's laugh, let's exercise, let's move with people with positive vibe, let's smile, let's drink water, let's pray, meditate, and fast. You need professionals, and you need to seek a psychological advice or a professional to talk to about your stresses. It will help. It's just like you go to the salon, it's just like you go to the hospital, it's just like you do all the other things. You need one. You need to talk to one. So you can follow him on Instagram and then you can talk to him. Thank you very much, viewers. Even though we had lights off, you still made it and you listened. And I believe that this that you have listened, this topic has really, really helped you in a way. We want to say thank you. We want to also say that all the videos and all the live chats are on the YouTube channel Weinglo Family International, so you can actually go there and have it. This Saturday we are going to the marketplace to share nose masks and hand sanitizers to the Kayayes on the market. We believe that they are the first point of contact when you get to the market. They carry your food stuff, they carry your things, and then you don't know. The COVID is so real. We need to mask up, we need to wash our hands, we need to keep social distancing. Right. So see you again next week, Thursday. Our guest next week, Thursday, is Ohiniri Giftianti, and we'll be talking about self-acceptance. So see you and then have a good one. Bye.